The Cleveland fans have been here before. New quarterback, new hope, same ending. So when Emmanuel Acho went public defending Kevin Stefanski's management of Shedeur Sanders, it wasn't just unwelcome, it was familiar. This wasn't about one bad game or one missed read. It was about a pattern of systemic failure that no longer needed analysis to be obvious. Fans didn't hear support, they heard another excuse, another way to explain away coaching that's clearly not producing growth. And when the people closest to the game can't, or won't, acknowledge that, it fuels even more distrust. This isn't just about Sanders or even Stefanski.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It's about a culture in Cleveland that's become allergic to progress. Talent is drafted, optimism builds, and the system grinds it down. The defense of that system, especially from analysts like Acho, doesn't just miss the point, it prolongs the problem. Until the leadership is held to the same standard as the players they manage, fans know exactly where this story ends. And they've seen it too many times already. Emmanuel Acho lit the match and fans were already soaked in gasoline. When he went on air defending Kevin Stefanski's handling of Shedeur Sanders, calling it fair and strategic, people didn't just disagree, they exploded. The moment Acho doubled down on Stefanski's leadership, NFL fans swarmed social media like clockwork, accusing him of sugarcoating a dumpster fire. To the crowd watching Cleveland's constant collapses, it felt like Acho was gaslighting the audience. Fans were watching a team underperform week after week while their rookie quarterback struggled in a system that seemed set up to fail. But Acho? He stood by Stefanski, claiming the coach had a plan. That wasn't just a hot take, it was a scorching one. Stefanski himself hasn't exactly helped his case. Post-game interviews are often filled with vague reassurances and coach speak about execution and growth, but fans have stopped buying it. The Browns' playbook hasn't evolved. The offense is predictable. The protection is flimsy. And yet Stefanski continues to escape the kind of scrutiny that usually comes for coaches in freefall. That's where Acho's defense struck a nerve. It wasn't just disagreement, it was about accountability. Fans saw a coach who kept dodging consequences, and an analyst seemingly protecting that cycle. It painted a picture of commentary that favored relationships over reality. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders continues to face the media with the composure of someone far older than his rookie status. Every press appearance from him is laced with subtle frustration. He won't throw his coaches under the bus, but you can read between the lines. The lack of offensive identity, the constant shifts in strategy, the inability to build any rhythm, all of it shows in his body language. Shedeur doesn't need defenders. He needs a system that actually works. The endless commentary about his readiness or poise distracts from the real issue. The Browns are failing him. And the people pretending otherwise are missing the entire point. The recent matchup against the Bears only deepened the wound. Once again, Sanders was scrambling for his life, the offensive line crumbling around him like wet paper. The play calling was as stale as ever, short yardage on third and long, screen passes with no blockers and drives that went nowhere. The result? Another uninspiring loss, and another excuse-filled press conference from Stefanski. And yet, commentators like Acho still framed the game as a developmental step. Fans didn't see development, they saw regression. If you line up Sanders' game film from this season, a disturbing pattern emerges. It's not just bad luck, it's systemic. Bad protection. Poor adjustments. No clear offensive philosophy. And through it all, Shedeur is left to improvise, carry the offense, and somehow not get injured. What's worse? The narrative constantly shifts the blame. Some point fingers at the rookie quarterback, while letting the coaching staff slide. But NFL fans aren't blind, they've seen this before. The team changes quarterbacks like socks, but the coaching remains the same. During the Lions game, it was déjà vu, missed assignments, blown protections, and Sanders left on his own. Fans noted the growing frustration on the sidelines, the tension between coaching staff and players. Sanders didn't say anything publicly, but the message was clear. Nothing was getting fixed. That game could have been a turning point. But instead of acknowledging the glaring coaching issues, analysts like Acho chalked it up to rookie struggles and tough matchups. Fans had had enough. They didn't want narratives. They wanted results. And then came Stefanski's usual post-game interview. The same tone. The same phrases. We've got to execute better. We're learning each week. We believe in the process. It felt like a looped recording from previous seasons. But this time it hit differently. With Sanders taking unnecessary hits and the team spiraling, fans didn't just hear those words, they rejected them. To them, it was more proof that Stefanski wasn't adapting. And the people defending him were just enabling the same mediocrity. The relationship between Sanders and Stefanski is now at the center of Cleveland's drama. While public appearances show a united front, insiders and fans alike are starting to question if there's any trust left. When your quarterback looks more confident calling audibles than following the script, it says a lot. And yet, Emmanuel Acho continues to frame Stefanski as a competent leader who's being unfairly criticized. That perspective not only feels tone-deaf, it feels disconnected from the product on the field. At what point does loyalty become denial? This isn't Stefanski's first time being under fire. Browns fans have sat through countless seasons where potential is overshadowed by poor execution. Quarterbacks come and go. Systems are tweaked. But the results? They barely move. Under Stefanski's leadership, there's been more talk than transformation. A few wins here and there. A playoff appearance. But no sustained progress. And now with a rookie talent like Shedeur Sanders, the stakes are even higher. If Stefanski can't develop this QB, then what exactly is his long-term value? Zooming out, the Browns' entire trajectory feels like a rerun. Every season opens with cautious optimism. By mid-season, cracks start to show. By the end, disappointment, excuses, and calls for change. It's a cycle and fans are tired of living in it. They're not just frustrated by the losses, they're frustrated by the refusal to evolve. And when analysts like Acho defend the status quo, it feels like a slap in the face to anyone who's actually paying attention. Fans don't want narratives built on loyalty or spin, they want a football team that reflects accountability, adaptability, and actual progress. Acho's commentary didn't evolve, it contradicted itself. One day he's praising Stefanski's calm leadership. The next, he's subtly admitting the team might need to reconsider its offensive identity. That kind of flip-flopping didn't sit right with fans, who are already fed up with mixed messages from the organization itself. People didn't just want a hot take, they wanted consistency. And when you back a coach in the face of overwhelming mediocrity, then hedge a few days later, your credibility doesn't bend, it breaks. For a team knee-deep in coaching problems, defending Stefanski feels less like a bold opinion and more like avoiding the obvious. Through it all, Shedeur Sanders has maintained a professional front. When asked about the criticism, he's tactful. When pressed about the coaching, he's careful. But fans have caught on. His responses are controlled not because things are fine, but because he knows the spotlight is on him, not just as a rookie QB, but as the future of the franchise. There's no tantrum, no finger-pointing. Just restrained honesty. But everyone watching can sense it. This isn't about Shedeur failing to rise. It's about the franchise refusing to meet him halfway. No one's saying he's perfect, but the conditions around him? They're setting him up to fail. That became painfully clear in the game against the Patriots. A team known for disciplined defense exposed every weakness in the Browns' offensive setup. The game plan felt stale from the jump. Shedeur was under pressure before the ball even left his hands. Stefanski's play calls did nothing to slow the pass rush, and the offensive line looked confused and slow to adjust. It wasn't a learning moment. It was an indictment. And while analysts tried to cushion the outcome by pointing to Shedeur's inexperience, the fans weren't buying it. They've watched this movie too many times and the ending never changes. The chemistry, or lack thereof, between Stefanski and Shedeur is becoming a running theme. There's no visible synergy, no sign that the coach is tailoring the system to his quarterback's strengths. Instead, Sanders is forced into a rigid mold that doesn't suit him, while the coach insists the structure isn't the issue. From the outside, it's a textbook case of mismatched vision. Stefanski wants a system quarterback. Sanders is a creator. And instead of meeting in the middle, the two are drifting apart in plain sight. That disconnect? It's costing them games, and possibly a future. In the Vikings matchup, everything unraveled again. Early drives stalled, pass protection broke down, and the rhythm was non-existent. Sanders made a few standout throws trying to spark something, anything, but the offense never found its footing. Fans were left wondering why the team looked so unprepared, yet again. There was no energy, no creativity. Just the same tired execution and the same post-game excuses. Fans pointed to the lack of adjustments and asked the obvious. If this is the best Stefanski can do, what happens when the real pressure hits? Stefanski's performance against the Dolphins added fuel to the fire. Despite facing a dynamic, high-scoring opponent, the Browns' offensive scheme remained conservative and reactive. It was another game where the rookie quarterback was given little to work with, and expected to perform miracles without support. As the scoreboard tilted, the fan outrage grew louder. Social media was flooded with criticism, not just of the game but of the overall philosophy. This wasn't just a bad day at the office. This was a season spiraling, and Stefanski had no answers. Still, Stefanski held the mic with familiar poise. He offered up the usual deflections. "We'll go back and look at the tape. We're seeing growth. It's a process." Fans have heard every version of it before. But what they haven't seen is tangible change. They're not angry because the team is losing. They're angry because the same problems keep happening and leadership pretends it's part of the plan. At some point, the process stops being a roadmap and starts being an excuse. The sight of Shedeur Sanders limping to the sideline after another late hit wasn't just alarming, it was symbolic. This isn't just about stats anymore. It's about survival. The Browns are risking their quarterback's health because the system around him is broken and nobody's fixing it. Watching Sanders take unnecessary punishment while commentators blame inexperience is exhausting for fans. They're watching a talent get worn down in real time, while leadership keeps offering empty reassurances. It's not development, it's negligence. The Steelers' game was the final straw for a lot of people. A divisional matchup, a chance to reset, and once again the Browns came out flat. Sanders was under siege, the defense collapsed in key moments, and Stefanski stood on the sideline with the same stoic expression that fans now associate with disappointment. Commentators spun it as growing pains. Fans called it what it really was, evidence that nothing is working. There was no passion, no spark, just another step toward irrelevance. And the fact that people like Acho continue to defend this direction only widens the divide. Zoom out and the trend is undeniable. The Browns are stuck in a loop of failed leadership, short-term fixes, and mismanaged talent. From Baker Mayfield to now Shedeur Sanders, quarterbacks are rotated through a broken machine that hasn't worked in years. And still, the narrative in media remains cautious, even protective. Analysts defend coaching philosophies that haven't produced results, and fans are left to wonder, when will someone actually say what's obvious? This isn't bad luck. It's a failed system. And continuing to prop it up only delays the inevitable. Week after week, Shedeur shows up to practice. Early reps, full pads, focus drills, it's all there. He's putting in the work, hitting the marks, learning the playbook. But even the hardest grind can't fix a bad foundation. And that's the problem. The effort is there, the attitude is there, but the structure around him is flawed from the top down. Fans see it. The NFL world sees it. And the more Shedeur does everything right only to be thrown into chaos on game day, the more obvious it becomes. Development isn't just about player effort. It's about coaching, vision, and support. And right now the Browns are failing him on all three. Every sideline photo of Kevin Stefanski looks the same. Headset on. Arms crossed. Eyes blank. He's supposed to be the architect, but more and more he looks like a bystander. When the offense stalls or the defense gives up big plays, there's never visible urgency, just quiet calculation that rarely translates into change. That lack of fire has become a point of contention for fans. They want a leader who's responsive, who adapts in real time, who can recognize when something's broken and fix it. Instead, they get a stoic figure repeating the same patterns and expecting a different outcome. In the matchup against the 49ers, those patterns were exposed again. The Browns came in as underdogs, but what fans wanted wasn't a miracle win. They just wanted to see growth. Instead, they got more of the same. Early drives died on conservative play calls. Shedeur took hit after hit. The offensive rhythm never showed up. The Niners didn't even need to be extraordinary. Cleveland beat itself with poor preparation and uninspired coaching. Analysts like Acho tried to frame it as a learning experience. Fans called it what it really was, another wasted opportunity. And when the Browns faced the Ravens, things got worse. The game plan was erratic. The team lacked discipline. By the third quarter, the score wasn't just lopsided, it was humiliating. Stefanski didn't adjust. He didn't scheme anything creative. And Shedeur was once again stranded behind a collapsing pocket. Commentators were still tossing around phrases like finding their identity or building chemistry. But fans were well past that. They wanted answers. And they weren't getting any from the man in charge. The preseason told a different story, at least for a minute. Sanders flashed potential. Quick reads. Confident throws. Controlled tempo. Fans were excited, thinking maybe, just maybe, this would be different. But even then, cracks were forming. The offense lacked cohesion. The schemes were repetitive. Stefanski's influence loomed large, and not in a good way. It was clear then that the coach wasn't adjusting to his quarterback. Instead, he was forcing the quarterback to fit a scheme that hadn't worked in years. And that misalignment? It's haunted the Browns all season. When Shedeur faces the press, he chooses his words carefully. He talks about team unity. He praises the veterans. He avoids drama. But listen closely and the frustration is there. It's in the pauses, the glances, the coded language about figuring things out and working with what we've got. He's not just being humble, he's being careful. Because the last thing he needs is a media circus. But the truth is leaking out. He knows this isn't working. And if he knows, fans know. Which makes the ongoing defense of Stefanski by people like Acho even more baffling. At this point, even Stefanski's closest allies, like GM Andrew Berry, are under pressure. The partnership that once promised strategic alignment now feels like a closed loop of recycled decisions and stubborn loyalty. The roster construction, the coaching hires, the play design, it's all being questioned. Fans are demanding more than PR statements and vague timelines. They want direction. They want proof that someone at the top understands how broken things are. But with each press conference and insider report, the message seems the same: keep the course. Even if the ship is sinking. The season as a whole has become a collection of letdowns. Close losses, blowouts, wasted leads, rookie mistakes exacerbated by veteran coaching errors. And above it all, a refusal to evolve. The Browns' playbook is stuck. The philosophy is tired. The culture is deteriorating. And yet, fans are told to trust it. That it's part of a larger plan. That progress is happening behind the scenes. But when the scenes are this loud, that narrative stops working. The tape doesn't lie. And right now it's saying one thing: this team is going nowhere fast. Then came the injury scare. One awkward hit and Shedeur was slow to get up. Trainers rushed out. The crowd went silent. It ended up being minor, but that moment stuck with people. Because it wasn't just about pain. It was about risk. And the bigger question: how long can this kid survive in a broken system before something worse happens? The anger wasn't just about the injury. It was about everything leading up to it. The blown assignments. The lazy blocking. The coaching staff pretending it's all part of a growth phase. Fans aren't just scared for the season. They're scared for Shedeur's career. Against the Titans, Shedeur showed flashes again. Quick thinking. Grit under pressure. But it wasn't enough. The support wasn't there. Another game plan lacking creativity. Another offensive line collapse. Another round of post-game talking points from Stefanski about execution and cleaning things up. It was more of the same. And fans aren't numb, they're furious. Because every week the narrative repeats and every week nothing changes. Analysts defending the coach might think they're being objective. But to fans it just sounds like denial dressed as commentary. By the time the Browns faced off against the Raiders, the tension had fully snapped. Fans weren't just frustrated, they were exhausted. From the opening drive it was obvious. Nothing had changed. Same slow starts. Same questionable calls. Same signs that this team was outcoached from the jump. Shedeur Sanders was once again scrambling just to stay upright. Missed protections, stalled drives, and yet somehow the post-game narrative still tried to spin silver linings. He showed poise, they said. There were some good moments. But good moments mean nothing when they exist in a sea of bad systems. The camera captured Stefanski on the sideline, arms folded, eyes scanning the field like someone waiting for a result he had no control over. That passive posture has become symbolic. Fans don't want a philosopher in a headset. They want a leader who's ready to fix things when they're clearly broken. His defenders keep pointing to his composure, his calm under pressure. But how much calm is just resignation? The team doesn't need mindfulness. It needs urgency. The kind of energy that turns around seasons and rebuilds trust. Right now, all Stefanski seems to offer is the same tired approach and a refusal to evolve. Across his games, Shedeur has become the constant in a franchise full of chaos. He shows up, he competes, and he endures. But the wear is starting to show. You can see it in the frustration when he walks off the field. You can hear it in the way he answers questions without really saying anything. He's holding it together because he has to. But this isn't what quarterback development is supposed to look like. Fans aren't asking for miracles. They're asking for a system that lets their quarterback succeed. What they're getting instead is a cycle of excuses, and it's wearing thin. Post-game, Stefanski once again stepped up to the mic with the same measured tone. "We'll learn from this," he said. "We're continuing to evaluate." At this point, fans can recite the script with him. It's predictable. It's polished. And it means absolutely nothing. How many more games will be sacrificed in the name of evaluation? How many more times will the rookie QB be left exposed because the system refuses to adapt? The problem isn't the learning curve. It's the refusal to climb it. Fans want accountability. Instead, they keep getting patience without progress. The Browns' record now reads like a diary of dysfunction. Not just losses, but avoidable ones. Not just missed opportunities, but repeated failures. For a team that keeps claiming to build for the future, they sure spend a lot of time stuck in the past. And that's what makes the Emmanuel Acho defense of Stefanski so maddening to fans. It's not just a difference in opinion, it's the feeling that reality is being ignored. This team isn't one adjustment away from turning the corner. It's in a spiral. And denying that does more harm than help. The numbers are there. The film is there. The frustration is there. At what point do we stop dressing it up and start telling the truth? If progress is measured by results, then Cleveland isn't building, it's stalling. And right now, no amount of on-air spin can change what everyone's watching on Sundays. If you're just as tired of the excuses and want to see actual accountability in Cleveland, let's talk about it below. Drop a comment, hit that like button if you're fed up with recycled failures, and subscribe for more breakdowns that aren't afraid to call out the chaos.